to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. I know there's an old expression, heavy in the head that wears the crown. But in our little corner of the world, we understand all too well that some people are better at handling heavy weights than others. And at this point, I think it's pretty clear that no one in classic physique understands that fact better than your reigning and defending 3-time Olympia champ, Chris Bumstead. Even though he's just starting to hit his stride in preparation of his title defense, it definitely feels like there's a certain energy or an aura of confidence with Chris right now that only comes from knowing what it takes to sit at the top of the division. Certain people just have a knack for thriving under pressure, and in the short history of the division, no one's done it better than him. And as we start getting closer to the show and the weight of those expectations really start to bear down, that's when he seems to thrive the most. And when you have a weapon like that at your disposal, shouldering all that weight probably feels like second nature. Outside of a few flurries from Aaron Banks at the start of the season, it's been a pretty quiet year in men's physique. But if you're a fan of the division, it looks like there might be some light at the end of the tunnel now that Brandon Hendrickson is finally starting to kick things into high gear. Based on everything we've seen, it does look like Brandon is carrying some extra size heading into this year's prep, and to a certain extent, that added size might have played a part in some of the rumors we heard a few months ago about him being interested in switching over to classic physique, which would have been one of the biggest storylines of the season had it actually happened. But because he is staying put, at least for now, that makes this year's contest somewhat of a fulcrum point as far as his legacy is concerned. Because if he wins again this year, it would bring his total up to 4 wins, which would tie him with Jeremy Buendia for the most titles of all time. So if he can eclipse that barrier and get himself into rarefied air with 4 titles, then it's almost a lock that he stays put for 2023, because it would give him a chance to set himself apart as the greatest winner in the history of the division. After weeks of talk and speculation, we're finally heading into the home stretch for the Texas Pro. And if you're a Martin Fitzwater fan, I'm sure you've got to love what you're seeing right now, because he looks like he's planning to come in swinging for the fences. Some of you might remember that this is actually the show where he made his pro debut last year, and the fact that he was able to finish 4th in a lineup that included some absolute monsters was probably one of the biggest surprises of the entire weekend. Throughout his entire prep, we've seen him training with some big names like Keon Pearson, Brett Wilkin, and even IFBB legend Branch Warren. And the sense you get from people in Martin's camp is that comparing where he was last year to where he is now is like night and day. We have known for a while that the lineup in the open is going to be absolutely loaded. If his conditioning is on point here, a top 3 finish for him might not be outside the realm of possibility. Up to this point, there's been a lot of discussion about the open lineup in Texas, and to a lesser extent, we've also heard some talk about the 212, which has mostly centered on Keon Pearson's season debut. But we haven't heard too many people talk about classic physique, which is a shame because Robert Timms looked like he might be ready to do something special. For the most part, Robert's been flying under the radar since the start of the season, but very quickly over the last few weeks, he started to become more and more visible, which leads you to believe that he might be planning to come back and defend his title from last year. At that time, the look that he brought in there after being out for almost 2 full seasons stopped everyone dead in their tracks, and there was a period of time in the immediate aftermath where he was one of the most talked about athletes in the entire division. So if he shows up with an improved version of that and looks even more dominant than he was a year ago, it's really going to be something, because he's got enough tools that he can give anyone in the division a run for their money on any given night. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.